Well, greetings to you. This is just a very short clip. I promise to keep everyone updated, my subscribers updated on what's going on in the Ukraine. And there's been a few developments since my last clip, and I'm passing them on to you as I said I would. Now, first of all, and most importantly, Jens Stoltenberg, who is the Secretary General of NATO, who is a Washington stooge, and I flagged him up about a year ago, and his response to the Russian Federation when they said they wouldn't tolerate the Ukraine joining NATO and have American missiles or boots on the ground in the Ukraine because they have 1,000 kilometers of border, not unreasonable. Stoltenberg sent the most appalling, undiplomatic letter I've ever seen, basically telling the Russians to get stuffed. None of your business, they said, get stuffed. If Ukraine wants to join NATO, that's it. You can trace this back quite a long way. Now, for the first time, this is interesting, and I told you when the war started. It started basically in 2014 when the CIA usurped the elected government in the Ukraine to replace it with their man, Zelensky. Now, subsequently, of course, that's been admitted. That has been admitted by everybody, but of course you're not seeing it on your BBC screen. It's there, out there in the open, but you're not seeing it because the mainstream channels, TV channels in Britain, aren't letting you have that information. So that's one thing. We also then had, did we not, Angela Merkel quite openly in Berlin say that the Minsk agreement, which was where the West agreed they wouldn't expand NATO at all any further up to the Russian border. She admitted that the Minsk agreement, they had lied, the West had lied, NATO had lied, so that they could give time to arm the Ukraine for what is now, of course, we know, which is a war. And she was quite upfront about that. You're also not getting a clip of her speech there on your screens. BBC are burying that. So you have two very important points here that Jens Stoltenberg told the Russian Federation that he wasn't interested in negotiation. And then you have Angela Merkel about 8 or 9 months later saying that the reason we weren't interested because we wanted to arm the Ukraine and we needed more time. And that's the reason that we lied at the Minsk agreement negotiations. That's given us a very difficult situation now because we can't have a negotiated peace because the Russians, quite rightly, can't trust anything that the West says because they've been subject to nothing but lies from the very beginning. Now, here's another very interesting thing. The Secretary of State for Defence, Ben Wallace, in Britain, has admitted that, oh dear, we didn't really account for this when we armed the Ukraine because we wanted to have regime change in the Russian Federation. This is what it's all been about. But we weren't actually prepared for what he called a Soviet-style war. And all a Soviet-style war is, it's gobbledygook for actually saying an all-arms major conflict. So he's hung the Ukrainian army out to dry, because now they're finding out what real all-arms and war is all about, and they're up against artillery, unlimited ammunition, highly specialised surveillance equipment, and of course they're losing the war, which brings me on to the next point. You have been told consistently now for a year that the Ukraine is beating the Russians. Ukraine is winning the war. It's not winning the war, it's losing. The war is already lost. And that's how it is. And sooner or later, we're going to have to dance to the Russian Federation's tune because we got the whole thing wrong from the beginning. And the Secretary of State for Defence, Ben Wallace, is saying, oh, we've got to arm, we've got to send arms to the Ukraine, we've got to do this, we've got to do that. They need more artillery, they need more ammunition. We don't have it. All right, can we get this clear? We don't have it. The French don't have it. The Germans don't have it. We don't have it. We've just got a few days' ammunition at the rate it's being used there. Up to 60,000 rounds a day. We don't have it, all right? So we can't help, we can't send anything. And Ben Wallace is whistling in the dark. He doesn't understand all-arms warfare. Very brave officer. very brave officer, very good officer, very junior regimental officer, and did very well. But this isn't internal security. This isn't light infantry work. This is a major, major battle that's going on in the Ukraine, and we have nothing to offer, and we should never have encouraged its start. It's an absolute disgrace. There should be an inquiry and heads must roll. But if you think the war isn't over, it's over now. It's over now, bar the shouting, all right? The whole thing's been unnecessary and disgraceful. And a shame on us all. As most of you know, my work is very heavily independently research based, and I get my information from all over the world. It would help if you press the subscribe button and the little bell next to it, because the more subscribers I have, the more likely it is that international independent research institutes will share their material with me. It's most helpful, and then of course I automatically share it with you. So, surprise, won't cost you anything. Thank you very much.